on the second panel today, we are talking about AI for many, not the few, bridging gaps in skills, data access, tech infrastructure, and capital flows. We have with ourselves Mr. Mustafa, Furniturewala, CTO of Coursera, Anshu Sharma ji, co-founder and CEO of Skyflow, Mr. Shetty, Chief Strategist and Technology Officer at Wipro. And to moderate the session, our very own Mr. Deepak Ajwani, ET Online Editor. Deepak, sir.
Okay, this is an AI democratization session. If we could stick to time and take 1 minute only for the answer, not ramble, but be clear and direct, right? When it comes to democratization of AI, the first thing is compute power. Today, a lot of compute power has been resting in the Western geographies, while Google and various other companies have committed $67.5 billion to come to India. Do you think this will tilt the balance when it comes to compute power for AI in India?
Yeah, I think I feel like the compute power balance will democratize over time. I think it will spread over time. So I do think what's more important is how AI is having an impact. And we can see that by how it's scaling education, for example. And that is happening across the world. Even if you take India, for example, the highest number of generative AI enrollments are coming from India. And the access to education via AI is improving because of that, and it's democratizing all over the world by the fact that the AI is enabling people to access the same content in different languages, and then also having support as well. So, for example, we have something called Coach, where every learner can have a 1:1 personalized tutor, and so that will, I think, tilt the balance across the country in terms of compute power as well.
Right. Question for you. India has a huge database contribution to the world. We have multiple languages. We have enough data to feed the AI models. Should we have a copyright model where we say if we are contributing, say, 10 million tokens, then you owe it to us that we need to have a pie in that AI for ourselves? Do you think that is something that one can work on tech front, or should there be a policy around it? Because India is going to contribute both talent as well as Indic models and language, English language content to the entire AI LLMs.
See, first and foremost, Deepak, I thought you'll ask a rapid fire for all of us, given the
It seems we are on a rapid fire, and I'm really sorry for this, but
that's fine. That's fine. So coming back to your question, I would say what Mr. Sika talked about. AI is a method of abstracting real knowledge into a model, and different sizes of model fit different needs. So at some point in time, while today data is the most important thing for building models, at some point in time models will take over the role of data, because you have already captured the juice out of the data into the models. So again, coming back, the ownership of data is very, very important for the next short time period, before which the ownership of the model becomes more important.
Right. Anshu, question for you, open source versus closed AI. While open source, lowers the barrier to entry, but does it still leave a loophole? I mean, you work in the cybersecurity area. Do you think open source still has to give an assurance to large corporates that, hey, don't worry, your data is impregnable?
So it's like your first question to Vishal, who's we? In your question, who is they? Right? So when you say open source should give a commitment, kaun karega, right? You don't know who's creating this, right? So open source by definition means anybody can contribute, which means there is no they. So you cannot, even if everybody agreed, there's no mechanism for that. So I think the way to make all of this work is going to be at the layer at which you're actually using these systems. There's literally no way for me to make sure, whether it's, by the way, open source or closed source, right? How do you get Anthropic or Mistral to tell you that the data they have about, Economic Times is actually scraped from Economic Times? Maybe they picked it up from a competitor, right?
I can tell you lots of other sites are scraping from ET, but
exactly,
good luck to them.
Exactly my point. So all this scraping is uncontrolled. So it's sort of like, the way this whole thing works is the models themselves don't know when it's scraping something, how much of that is going to end up in the model, right? Khichdi. This is like khichdi ki khichdi ki khichdi, right? So if you think about neural networks, It's basically layers of khichdi. And by the time it comes to you to eat, there is literally no way for you to actually figure out where this came from, right? So what are we going to do? What we have to do as enterprises or consumers is we have to do enforcement of policy, data, privacy, security at the time of use. That's the only way we can make all of this work. And we've done this before. Frankly, like, even in the database world, you don't really control. You have to do all of this work at the time of use, and that's going to be the case here.
Coming to you, talent does not need to be bound to a geography. How does one democratize the access to AI tools so that the talent base across the nation is able to build frontier models if required?
Yeah, I think first is just making sure everyone has access to the tools. But I think more importantly, it's going to be important that they are trained well to use those tools really well, right? And for that, I think...
So not just access, train them first to use.
Yes,
right.
Because that will help the talent be successful. And that training needs to be function specific, right? So every function needs a very specific training on how to use. There's some basic training which is AI fluency, but then every function needs to have a skills track on, like, for my function, for my role, what are the skills that I need to learn? And then it's also important to be able to verify those skills so that you have a feedback loop of skills verification and skills training.
Right. On governance and power control, we are at India AI Summit. The government of India is putting huge amount of effort to build awareness, get people to talk to each other across different geographies, even different countries are here. You think the government has a role to play when it comes to power concentration on who controls AI?
See, at some...
Don't fear, this is off the record if you want.
It's a fair question, and let me try to answer it. The point that I would say is anytime there's scarcity, there's always an element of governance that has to step in. And governments do step in to actually try to make this a fair process for everyone. Now, coming to the second element of it, in terms of the policy framework, a policy framework that actually focuses on basically reducing friction in AI is more important than a compliance check from a policy perspective, right? That's what I would broadly call it out.
Great. I love this panel. They're quick, they're short, they're brief. Thank you for sticking up. It says time's up, but it's not up for me as yet. One last question to you, Anshu. Data ownership and value creation. We contribute to a large extent across AI data stacks. When it comes to putting a value to it, is there a method that you attribute to it? You create your own solutions on cybersecurity. Is there a tokenization method or any other method of value attribution to what you create, what is your IP? Because any random kid with an AI tool or a bot will come and possibly steal your own IP. How does one attribute value to it?
Sure. So, we are obviously in the business of protecting enterprise data in the context of AI. But let me answer your question not in just the Skyflow context, but actually in the context you asked broadly. So, you studied economics?
No. I studied journalism and chemistry.
Okay, theek hai fair. Let me give you an economics lecture. So, do you know about this Nobel Prize that went to these people on the economy of ideas? Basically, here's what happened. These guys, oh yaar, baith ja tu.
Thandarak, as they say in Delhi.
Thandarak, putter. So, this is very interesting, huh? So basically what they proved, these people, ki think of any intellectual property you create, the people who actually create it actually get almost no value out of it. Okay, let me give you an example. Vishal, who's a friend, he was talking about this green thing. I don't know how many of people know here, but the green revolution was initially started by one doctor in the US who created a genetically modified version of wheat and rice. Now, 0 people in America are eating that wheat or rice, but people in Vietnam and India and China are actually eating a lot. So you have to think about AI the same way. Actually, that's how all technology works. जो जितना use करेगा, utna value आएगी. Right? So the value is captured not by the creator, but the value is actually captured by the people who are using it. So if I have an iPhone, you have an iPhone, and you're just watching TikTok and I'm creating a new startup, I've captured value. So in a way, it's actually very democratic. Everybody's going to more or less get access to the same models. Okay, somebody's going to have one version higher, one version lower. But the beauty of this whole thing is it's kind of like rice and wheat. The person who knows how to cook with it the best is going to derive value. So we shouldn't obsess about mere data say this guy created a model, so how do I get 25 cents back? India with its billion people, if all billion people start using AI on their phones to just do basic things like when you fall sick, ask it, if you're running a small business, find out what should your price be, you can extract the value with 1 billion devices in our phones way more than the 20 million people living in Australia or UK can. So it's actually entirely in our hands to extract all the value of the models.
Right. You talked of rapid fire. Final round, rapid fire. One word or one line at best. How much time you think will India take to create its own native frontier LLM?
I think it'll take a year.
It'll take a year?
Yeah.
Your guess, if you want to take the same question?
Depends on India's mindset. It can be now or it can be a year.
Mindset तो यार यहाँ से होता है ना और ये तो और fast चल रहा है like Vishal said, brains, multiple brains. All right. Your answer?
Well, I'm good friends with the Vivek Raghavan and all these Sarvam people. So why would we start with zero when we can distill the models that other people are producing? Same thing. उन्होंने गेहूं उगाई है. We're going to create the filtered version of it, suji. Sarvam is our suji and someone is going to make halwa here.
Great. We have halwa puri for lunch today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and sorry to the next session if at all we stole something from you. Thank you.